Welcome to Machine Minds, where technology and humanity meet. I'm your host, Greg Terrusian, founder of Samson Rose, a recruiting and search business focused on the robotics and AI industries. The Machine Minds show is where we dive deep into the intricate world of robotics and artificial intelligence. As a staffing industry leader with a passion for the frontiers of technology, I'm pleased to be bringing you intimate conversations with the founders, investors, and trailblazers who are at the heart of the AI and robotics revolution. In each episode, we dig into their journeys, the applications of the products they're working on, and the breakthroughs that are shaping our future. Join us as we explore how these machine minds are transforming the way we live, work, and understand our world. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a tech enthusiast, or just curious about this amazing field, you'll learn something new with each episode. Let's delve into the extraordinary. Let's delve into machine minds. Hello and welcome to Machine Minds. I'm your host, Greg Terrusian, founder of Samson Rose, your robotics talent search partner. And on today's episode, I'm joined by Sam Fatoohi, co-founder and CEO of Bomello, a cloud-based PLM software company. Thanks for being on the show today, Sam.
Absolutely. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. You are one of my buddies in the industry, and we're always doing these conferences together and sharing notes and comparing stuff. So I'm glad that we could get you on the show and share a bit about Bomello and yourself and your career.
Absolutely. I would take the opportunity to spend an hour just talking with you without a camera. So it's kind of cool to have a camera here.
Yeah.
Or have it recorded.
Likewise. Hopefully the first of many. But yeah, let's jump into it. So look, Sam, just to set the stage for everyone, you've had this diverse career across software, hardware, ops. You've done the whole consulting thing with Deloitte and BCG. Can you share some of your key experiences from that journey prior to founding Bomello?
Yeah, for sure. So started my career, as you mentioned, I was a software engineer. I worked for a company called ETHOS, now has been acquired by Keysight, and mostly was writing software for for a hardware platform. We built some network test hardware that we'd sell to the companies like router companies, switch companies, those kind of companies were our customers. So that's, started my career working in software, was really interested in the business side of the world. So I went to business school, went to consulting, as you noted, worked at Deloitte, Boston Consulting Group for a little while. I think the really awesome thing about kind of business school and those spots there was it gave me a lot more diversity of experience, where when I was working as an engineer, I really understood the technical aspects of how to make a product work. You go work in consulting, you'll talk to somebody who spent 10 years, they were art history majors, and then they worked in marketing, and then now they did sales, and then now they have different perspectives on how to run a business. And the partners you'd be working with, they'd have 20 years of procurement experience. They'd have 20 years of sales experience. They have 20 years of marketing experience. They have 20 years of product development experience, whatever, right? So you learn from all these experts and really round yourself out as a business person. So that was a great experience. When I wrapped up my time in consulting, a good friend of mine was starting up a hardware company called Pulsa. We were building like a connected sensor platform. And that's where I got, basically the product was ready, but there was no business, anything around it. So I was able to really use a lot of I had to do sales and marketing and support and operations. The product that we're selling was an operational improvement solution. So I was kind of doing operations for our customers. And so that was a lot of fun. And that's what, led me to being very interested in this world of hardware workflow tools, where when I was a software engineer, I haven't been really an individual contributor in software for about 10 years since I left Ixia. The tools that I used to use then don't exist now. But when I look at the tools that are used by hardware engineers and the hardware development workflows, they were typically released in the 90s, if not earlier. And so it just felt like there was a massive gap that, you could solve with better software to help hardware engineers, manufacturing professionals, that whole world, work better.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously being in consulting, people always talk about like you're drinking from a fire hose, but it's a crash course in multiple ways. As you mentioned, you're learning from experts, you're seeing different industries, you're seeing different ways of working, different stages, all of that good stuff. I'm sure a lot of that has like shaped your perspective on how you look at product development or how you look at management or building a company.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think one of the lessons I learned from that stop there was there's always fundamentals of a business. So, and I think there's always kind of the snarky thought of consulting. It's like, well, how do you know about my business better than I do? And they don't. No consultant will know about a company's business better than you do. But I think there's a perspective of like taking a step back and looking at a company from a different vantage point and having experience in kind of a narrow set of skills that the company needs. And so I'll give an example. Like, let's say you're an automotive manufacturer, right? You make cars. You might have a lot of the thing that makes you truly special is your ability to manufacture vehicles, to market those vehicles, to, channel management, things like that. Those are the things that make you special. But are you really that good at like indirect procurement? Are you really that good at, certain sales incentive plans that like a consultancy has been doing time and time again for hundreds and thousands of different companies? And so there's one thing of having that experience of a specific trade that might not be something that you, a truly special company might be truly special in 10 different things, but there might be 100 different levers that you need to be special at to run a successful business. So consultancies, you have that ability to really learn about a certain trade or a certain aspect of a business that's really critical. And also you can kind of see it from the outside where you're not in the day to day. And that's, to me today, it's sometimes very difficult where I'm just thinking about the last email that I sent or last meeting that I had and making sure to, provide feedback to my team for a particular product that we're building or capability, or a follow-up about like an email that a customer is asking about a feature or something like that, or a potential customer wants to talk about capabilities, where you want to take a step back a little bit. And I think that, having that consulting mindset sometimes allows you to, extract yourself from the situation at hand and really come in and provide, drive the company in the right direction.
It's a lot easier said than done, when you're
I know it's impossible.
on your own thing. Yeah, I think you've definitely got an advantage because you've done it before for other businesses, and you can put like your consulting hat on. But if you're, hey, I'm a product person and all I've done is develop this product and that's what my head's down focused on, and I'll hire other people to help me create this vision and company. But lifting your head up or zooming out to look at the big picture sometimes is tough. That's why
it's so hard.
That's why consultants exist.
There was one kind of unlock that I heard that works pretty well is like you almost have to schedule that, right? So you basically can, at whatever cadence you think is necessary or valuable, like a weekly meeting on your calendar to just say, what do I want to accomplish this week? What do I want to accomplish this month? What do I want to accomplish this quarter? What did I say I needed to do these last weeks? And so it forces you to get out. And sometimes you have those checkpoint meetings. You might be meeting with an investor. You might be meeting with key clients. You might just have a mentor or some relationship that you have with someone. Like you and I can be meeting and just saying, hey, let's just catch up on business like once a month. And you can have some kind of like conversation about your business that you weren't even thinking about it, but you're like, hey, I want to talk to Greg about my business. Let me look at my list of customers. Actually, why am I doing this with this one person? And it almost forces you to make those thoughts yourself.
It's so true. It's so true. It's the power of a network. And sometimes people have like little mastermind groups or whatever it is, or other founders that they just get together and like share what their progress is or knowledge and stuff like that. And that usually helps a lot because you learn things or they see things that you don't see. It's easier telling someone what to do in their business than you doing it yourself.
And sometimes you just feel like the smartest guy in the world when someone talks about their business problems, and then you diagnose and you're like, oh, what about this? Like, oh my God, thank you for that advice. And you're like, why didn't I apply that to my own business? Wait, what? That kind of stuff.
It's so true. Well, so what motivated your transition from working for someone else or bigger, more established companies and consulting and stuff like that into entrepreneurship?
Yeah. And so I think the bug really hit me around the end of my time in consulting, where I was looking at, as I was leaving BCG, I was thinking, what's next for me? Like, what do I want to do? And entrepreneurship was really high on my list of like, is there something that I'm passionate about that I want to start that makes sense? And around that same time, a good friend of mine who was the CEO of Pulsa said, hey, we're starting something and you can exercise all those muscles that you want to exercise about building a business with us. And so that was, and I like the product, I like the business, I like the team. So that was the opportunity for me to maybe do like a dipping my toes in the entrepreneurship water, I guess you could say. And then during my time at Pulsa, I found I was looking at different problems that different companies were having, and this is what made Bomello interesting to me. Is it just seemed like and at Pulsa we had a hardware development team, a software development team, and it just seemed like hardware was just harder to develop. And so, and then as I was doing a little bit of research in the space and figuring out like where I could start and really help on this problem, because there's a lot of places in hardware where the tools aren't that great.
Yeah.
That's where I was thinking like, where would be a good place for me to start to help, alleviate this problem and provide value with a company that I could start. So that I always had that kind of itch. I always felt like I could do things on my own. And build something on my own. It's a lot more than you bargained for, as you know, starting your own business in some ways, but it's definitely very rewarding.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and then
you're
in it.
It's like the known unknowns, unknown unknowns, like all that stuff.
So for our listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain about your product, about Bomello, what you guys do, and the problems that you're solving?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say, to put it simply, we're essentially a hardware and manufacturing collaboration tool. What the product category is product lifecycle management that we sit in, and essentially we are the source of truth for the bill of materials for a hardware company. And so that goes across their individual parts, their assemblies, and then information about those parts and assemblies. There's a change order process. It's called ECO, engineering change order process, that we support in our tool to enable our customers to update information, and that information about a part may be as simple as just like the part number or the manufacturing part number, or it could be information about the sources and like the costs, and then we allow people to do quick analysis in there. So essentially, like if you think about electrical mechanical piece of hardware, like your Apple Watch, some kind of whatever hardware that you have, it's going to have physical, like mechanical components. It's going to have like PCBs, like electronic components. And then also it's going to have firmware. It's going to have packaging. It's going to have spare parts. Like when you think of a finished good that gets shipped, it's a combination of a lot of different different components. And all those components get managed in your PLM. So there needs to be links to like various CAD tools. Like you might have a CAD tool for your hardware, for your mechanical. You might have a CAD tool for electrical. You might be using multiple different CAD tools. You might have certain design tools for packaging, and then you'll have different like engineering, like firmware or software development tools. So basically all the design components, like everything engineered, comes into this tool, your PLM tool. And then you might have like a manufacturing tools like your ERPs, your MRPs. So we essentially sit in between. So your manufacturing professionals, your engineering professionals will use both need the PLM, and that's where they collaborate. So if engineering says like we need something new, manufacturing can say, well, it's going to cost this much. Here's how we're going to buy it. Here's how this in fact impacts the cost and lead time of our product. So it's essentially like ultimately it's a collaboration tool across primarily internally, and then maybe some external stakeholders for building, designing, manufacturing hardware.
Love that. So sounds like a very important tool.
Yeah.
Sounds like if you don't have one, it's probably an issue. Well, what type of companies are your potential customers? Or who?
Yeah, we often start, there's really two angles. And so what I will say, and I think we'll talk more about in the conversation, is that I haven't invented this category. So there's other companies who are, large enterprise companies, and those are typically the most common players in this space who have a PLM software out there. Where we ultimately, any type of hardware company makes sense. So we have customers that kind of cross the gamut from robotics to industrial hardware to consumer electronics, to medical device to aerospace. Like those are all target customers for product lifecycle management. For me, since I started the company a little bit over a year ago, I think startups tend to be a little bit more eager to work with startups. So I do spend a lot of time in the startup ecosystem. We work with companies from size of like, let's say 6 employees to about 600 employees. So there's definitely a range there. We haven't, one type of customer that we don't really spend much time with yet, it might be like the 6,000 plus like enterprise type companies. That in time, I think will obviously be a potential target of ours. But right now, what we're really focused on is like those small to medium sized businesses who might be using spreadsheets today, to manage their bill of materials. So they have a PLM that is essentially a variety of different, like Google Sheets, Google Drives, or Microsoft systems, or whichever systems that they're using internally. That might be what their product lifecycle management system is. And so we often work with those folks, or they might be using brand X that's out there that they're just not happy with its capabilities. It doesn't scale to their needs, or it's providing things that they don't need and complicating the system significantly. So we'll move them over to our system. So it's really like, small to medium size hardware companies, cross vertical, essentially, and cross hardware verticals, but it's ultimately like hardware company, hardware software.
Yeah, you tend to see that with like the bigger names or bigger enterprise software trying to use it for a smaller company or like earlier stage. You just want to cut the noise. Don't make it to let it do what we need it to do instead of all the other bells and whistles. And
yeah,
I remember seeing this when I was internal in the HR and recruiting world, like sometimes when we would like implementing Workday or Salesforce, like, the worst implementations and so many different modules that you don't need and all of this stuff. And like, it's just overkill.
Yeah. And you raised, actually, you kind of, when you asked about my previous career stops, when I was at Deloitte and even BCG, probably a little bit more so at Deloitte because I had a lot of big tech implementation practice. I would do some work with companies where we would do like, I was involved in like the corporate strategy, the operations team, but there was an adjacent technology team. And there would be a lot of times where we'd say, you got to get your systems, like you've got like 5 different guys with spreadsheets. You got 4 different systems. Like one output of our advice sometimes is get these 4 systems, migrate to an ERP of choice. Then obviously the Deloitte or whoever BCG tech implementation specialists be chomping at the bit, be like, okay, we'll help you do this Oracle or this SAP thing. I mean, but the back of my head, I'm like, why is it so complicated? Why do people have to spend these millions of dollars to implement software? Like, how do startups do this? And then, when you're a small business, you realize, no, you don't use those tools. You use tools that make a lot more sense for you.
Exactly. So you've obviously started the company with your co-founder as well. How did you guys come together for this venture?
Yeah, so my co-founder is super talented, and he's a CTO. His name's Robert Todd. We actually met through my investor, or our investor. Myself and our investor were very interested in this idea and starting a company in this space. And I said, I really want to have the right person to go with this. And I do want to co-founder. I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to be like an individual founder. I think it makes a lot more sense to have someone really on the CEO side focused a lot on product and sales and outbound and marketing, and then having your technical founder involved in the engineering, and also basically product is where the two come together, but really focus on the product and architecture and design of the product. And so our investor connected me and said, hey, we know a few folks who could be a great fit for you. And Rob and I, and it was actually everybody that introduced me to was phenomenally talented and sharp. But what really took me, Rob was very excited about like build tools. Like this was something he was passionate about in the world of building software tools, hardware tools, like tooling to help people build better product was something he was really interested in. And so I think after the meeting, the first time him and I connected to just vet each other out, I think within like a couple hours, he sent me like a roadmap of things to build and how he would build it and how he'd architect it. And it was just exciting to see someone who shared the passion of what this company would be. So we hit it off very quickly, and just, we launched a company from there.
Love that. It sounds like you are doing a lot of the client side or customer side communication. You take feedbacks, they tell you about features they want and things like that. What in the early days was some of the, or I say obviously still early days, but in the initial stages of the product and stuff like that, what were some of the things that you learned that have influenced the company or the product direction?
Yeah, I think and it was a hypothesis that we had to confirm, and I think it was well confirmed from a lot of people, was that this was an underserved market, but there was a need for something that was simple. And so I think we hinted a little bit about it with like big companies and things like that about large enterprise software. And what we found was that the software that people were trying to force into their use case was way too complicated, and people were using the spreadsheets and things like that. Like we saw companies of very decent size and scale just, patching together complicated workflows themselves. because they said, just make it simple and easy. I can't spend 6 months deploying the software. I can't spend tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't have somebody managing this. Every mechanical engineer I hire, I want to be building hardware. I don't want them to be like managing a system. And so the importance of simplicity kind of resonated. And so I think that also triggered a lot of thought of like, well, there's been a lot of very simple and easy to use software tools that are out there to help people build and continue to improve over time. Can we leverage some of the best practices there while also respecting the unique development style or development workflows of hardware as well? So I think what we learned pretty early was just simplicity. You don't want to build a checklist. You want to build a workflow and a product for people.
Love that. So the market, again, we've hinted at a few times, but big players for PLMs like Siemens, PTC, Oracle, etc. It sounds like what sets you apart is the simplicity, ease of use, etc. Is there any like underlying technology, or is it just like the stickiness of the product for your end user that has made people want to adopt it or transition away from the other ones? Like what else, or what would you say sets you apart?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think simplicity is the what, and the how is like how we leverage some software best practices to like as our ethos in our product of saying like, well, we know this is what people love in other design worlds. And so let's take some of the best practices and let's use some popular tools, right? And when you see our tool, you'll see a lot of like corollaries to like the GitHubs and the Notions and like Slack and like various tools that you probably become very used to just in your normal life. We said like, how do we leverage some of those common design paradigms that really aren't in the, like when you have a product that's been around for 30 years, you don't really want to change how it looks because people have just been familiar with it. And for us, we can start from a whiteboard and basically say, hey, how should it look like if you were building something from the beginning? And so I think that's one of the things that set us apart, is that we're able to build it from scratch and focus on, this core set of small business type customers, medium-sized business type customers, which I think is really helping us like set apart from those guys. And I think, those companies you named, Siemens, PTC, Dassault, Oracle, like they know themselves, right? And so they've built amazing businesses, phenomenally successful businesses, really focusing on, I'll joke, like Siemens has built a product in software for the Siemens hardware team, right? And so it's a giant enterprise company, those giant enterprise needs, who has a team to manage the PLM, who is okay that it takes 12 months to deploy the system. And for our customers, that's just not tenable. And so we wanted to build something that is actually tenable and much better than just an Excel spreadsheet that they, can lead to mistakes, and also is a management overhead and is also much more complicated. So I think that where we differentiate ourselves in simplicity and kind of the how is we're able to really start from scratch and leverage some of the best practices and best design paradigms that exist today.
I really like your website, by the way. It's nice to get a visual of the tool and
Thank you.
And the little videos. So that's cool. We'll put it in the note.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And we did invest a bunch of time into like making it nice, because obviously when I'm doing marketing and emails and things like that, I say, hey, check out the website. And we've been noticing that we're getting a good amount of traffic to it. So we're just saying, well, let's try and get you as much information, similar to using Bomello, right? Like we want you to get as much in and out of it. Like we want you to do as much as you can of the workflow in the tool. Same with the website. Like, is this a fit for you? Do you want it? Sign up. We can get you a demo and get you using it within a couple minutes.
It's perfect. Yeah. What, in your opinion, are some of the biggest mistakes that hardware companies make when managing their BOMs?
I think, and especially as a company is scaling up, is there's always a hesitance to adopt a new technology. You don't want to add something to your stack, and people have seen it go wrong a lot, right? Like you'll have like 8 different software solutions that don't communicate, and so there's often like a reluctance to complicate what you're doing. And I think this is probably a bit self-serving from the Bomello perspective, but what we've seen is like people will continue to use say, well, spreadsheets are known technology, so we're just going to continue using this. And don't get me wrong, I I use spreadsheets every day for different applications, but just when it comes to BOM management, I think people will continue to use what's worked for them, and they don't think about, like, if for me, to get to the next level, and scale up my business, is this impacting my ability to actually grow because I'm using outdated like tools and technologies and workflows? And I think that's often, like, people will know what they have to solve today, and they don't think about, like, okay, how do I unlock that next stage? If I'm shipping, 1,000 widgets a month today, how do I ship 10,000 widgets next month? If I'm shipping 1 or 2 today, how do I ship 10 next month? How do I scale that up? I think a lot of folks will focus, like what we were talking about, like being in the trees and not seeing the forest. I think that's where you kind of see it like happening, where if they're managing everything with Excel, with 10 different Excel spreadsheets, and then spending like, a half a day trying to get a manufacturing order in, rather than just having something in a system where you click once or twice to get this package for your manufacturer. I think people aren't willing to deal with maybe a little bit of pain of adopting something, maybe spending a couple days adopting something, just will continue doing what they're doing and then just burning time and causing mistakes as they grow.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many sayings about this situation that you could just pull out there, but like, you really do need to zoom out. Like you were talking about scheduling that time to look at the business as a whole, but then it's also the slowing down to speed up element. Like, hey, it is going to be a little pain. It always is. Any tool, any change to your workflow, anything you adopt or tweak, there is that transition period. But if you do it, and we're all guilty of it. I know I'm guilty of it in my own business sometimes, hey, I need to put this automation in, or I really need to kick this tool up, or whatever it is. When you do it, it's like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just the fresh eye, because people in a business, they're like, oh, we've always done it this way, which is, I hate hearing that. But the person before you did it, you're not going to come in and change the system, and everyone else is working on that. So it's like, oh, we've always done it this way. Why would we change it? And you need a reality check.
I think it's like, people usually don't get in trouble for just doing what's been done before. Yeah. But people do get in trouble for doing something new, and if it goes wrong. And so if you're just doing what's been done before, you'd be like, hey, Bob and Jane were doing this, yeah, and now I'm here and I'm doing what Bob and Jane did and it broke. So, okay, like, and then, okay, something broke, we'll put something new in. So yeah, a lot of times there's some, the inertia of doing something till it breaks and then having an emergency to set it up. Right. It's like your water heater at home or something like that, right? Like, I don't think anyone preemptively fixes their water heater and then it breaks and it's emergency. I think that's very similar to like BOM management or any type of hardware or any type of like workflow tool that you're going to add into your workflow.
How do you think about time to value as part of your value proposition?
I think it's actually one of the biggest things, and it's a big customer differentiator, is that I can basically say, so I'll give an example. We're familiar with what else is out there. I've tried to adopt those solutions in the past. And I think the leading solution by one of those big companies we talked about earlier, to get like one seat set up, it's tens of thousands of dollars, and you're going to have to spend a few months of time with like contractors and consultants to deploy. We can get our system set up within like days with our customers. And so like, that's a big pitch of saying, hey, you just give us a spreadsheet. And this was one of the things that, we were talking about certain questions and feedback, like what's differentiating. One of our customers said, okay, what do I need to give you to get on board? And we were like looking at a spreadsheet of their BOMs. I said, just share the spreadsheet with us and we'll get you going. And they're like, you don't need like 20 forms to fill out. You don't need you don't need to repeat things 10 times out of 10 times. Like, no, we just give us the data that you're using to manage your BOM. You put it in our system, and then you can run from there. And so time to value is so valuable. I think that when people realize like, oh, I'm ready to go in a week after deploying your system, I think that's one of the biggest like aha moments for them.
Yeah, it's true. Or you think about similar in the recruiting world, call it like, it's a metric time to productivity. So when you make a hire, and we talk through like effective onboarding and what does success look like in the first 90 days and all of this stuff can be used in anything. Like, think of a system. If it's not sticky straight away, if you don't see value in it, if it isn't having the desired result quickly, you're probably less likely to use it. Go back to your spreadsheets. Same thing in hiring. If someone isn't made to feel productive, part of a team, like they're adding value, like this was the right choice for them, within 30 days is when they leave.
Yeah.
they're more likely to leave.
Yep.
And, you know, with a tool, if you're not going to use it, it's like, oh, there's so many tools now. Let me just go back to how I was doing it beforehand. So yeah, that's really good.
It makes a lot of, yeah. So basically getting people using it is one of the, it's like after, it's like, I basically tell people, I'm like, okay, you know, we really respect your business. And when you sign the contract, I'm just going to be clear. You're not going to be done with me when you sign the contract. Like, we're going to make sure that you're using it, getting value out of it. And one of the biggest things that I think, and this will help us, I think this is going to be part of our company ethos, and this is something Rob and I are building into it, is support and like getting feedback from the customer is paramount, right? And so understanding what they want and getting them to a point. I think a lot of our customers initially are kind of reluctant to give feedback because they'll be like, I don't want to be annoying, but no, we like, that's all we want is basically what we kind of coin as like, we want to solve the 120% problem, because, you know, and I'm not talking about like, I'm going to go 120% on the football field or whatever. I'm talking more like, okay, we'll solve 100% of your problem, but there might be 20% that you didn't even know was your problem until you started using the tool, and something that we could do better for you and help your workflows move smoother that you weren't even using as part of your buying criteria.
Interesting. Yeah. Adding more value. Can't go wrong there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you have happier customers, and then you have a better product. So it's kind of a win-win-win. It's a SaaS dream, right? That you get feedback from your customers, you build a better customer, it has more value, and then you can get more customers from that, right?
Right.
It's like that flywheel over there, right?
Yeah, you got to get the flywheel going.
Yep.
I know it's still early days, but as a founder, as CEO, building your team is obviously one of the most important roles that you have. And I'm in the recruiting world, so I have to ask these questions.
Yeah.
When you're going to be scaling, what kind of qualities do you think you want to prioritize for building out the team, or what type of culture do you hope to foster and grow?
I think solution oriented and customer focused. And so we want people who are looking to solve problems, and it might not even be their own problems, but basically like, how do we solve X, Y, and Z problem for the customer? And I think those are the two things that I think is critical, is like, and whether we're talking about somebody in engineering who might not be talking to a customer, or whether we're talking about someone in sales, like, how is somebody going to solve the problem for a customer? So obviously sales will be like, you can think of sales as like the most customer focused person, but they need to be solution oriented of like how. And the solution might not be even in their hands. The solution might be like, hey, let me go back to the engineering team and figure out how we can build something better. And so I think having that, those two traits, I think are very critical. It's like, how do I solve this problem? I don't want somebody just raising their hand and be like, oh, this was someone else's problem to solve. I want people, problem solving for themselves, for the company, and with that focus there, but really focusing on the customer. And I think that in turn drives, more value, better product, better company. But I think those are two of the most important things, I think, when we're looking to scale the company up.
Awesome. What trends in the industry are you kind of excited by currently? You must hear a lot from different clients or see things that are like coming to fruition in hard tech robotics. What are you excited by?
So obviously there's a lot of like the humanoid and the AI type stuff when we're talking about robotics, but I'll actually go more in the development side, because that's the world that I'm playing in. And I do see more moving to the cloud, which is really cool to see that, where a lot of the most common tools for hardware development have historically been non-cloud based solutions, which, you might be surprised about. It's 2025, but those are the leading solutions out there. And I've seen more and more, there's been a lot of investor activity. There was just a company founded by the former CEO of Autodesk, or president, former leader of Autodesk. They founded a company called Motif. It's more for construction design and workflows, but and I've been seeing more and more of those companies. I just give that as an example because the news release, I think, was last week or the week before. But we're seeing more and more people move to tools that are now collaborative, right? And so you've seen that in the design world, right? Where a lot of tools went from like the Adobe on-prem things to like a tool like a Figma and their competitors. You've seen that in software, like everything's happening in the cloud, like development's happening in the cloud. Even if you're developing on-prem software, you're probably using cloud tools like the GitHubs and things like that. And so I see as like all your tooling starts to move in the browser. And obviously, like if you're designing a space shuttle, you might have certain more complicated things that you need more complicated hardware to manage, and you might need more capabilities than the Chrome browser can enable for you. But like, I think pretty much any like I'd say 95+% of hardware that's developed out there probably could be developed in a browser-based tool. And so as you see more and more of that move there, I think that enables a higher degree of collaboration, that enables a higher degree of innovation too. You're not stuck, oh, I have a Mac, I can't build, I need to use a PC for, like, it's like, come on, no, you just log in a browser anywhere, anytime, and you have all your data. And it's also like all the data, all the updates, all your revisions, everything's in one place. It's I think that's a pretty exciting development that we're seeing more and more of.
Yeah, it's very true when you put it that way, because thinking about even software in my industry that we used to use that was just like on device, and you just had to be there in the office on that company laptop or computer to access it.
Yeah.
It was just so limiting. You don't even realize you can do.
And you're like, oh, what's in the server? Oh, like the server's down. So can someone in IT reboot the server? Things like that, right? And I think one of the awesome things is, I think when I think about my engineering stack and everything I'm using, I think there's like Chrome plugins that I have here and there that are like system specific. But even then, I think if I log in with a new instance of Chrome, it'll automatically, sync up all my with extensions and things like that. Like, very little I have is like on a physical machine. It's all just cloud based, and it makes it really easy to do anything anywhere. Whether I'm picking up a cell phone, whether I'm, sometimes I'll like reply to emails and things from my watch if I'm just like away. Like, it's pretty cool.
It's so cool. Technology is enabling so much with us right now. Let's look ahead for Bomello. What do you have in mind, or what's your vision for the next 5 years for the company?
Yeah, so obviously we want to nail the BOM, right? That's in our name. It's Bomello. We want to really nail BOM management, but I think there's certain like adjacencies to that make a lot of sense for us. And so we call ourselves like in the category of vertical software. What that means is that we attack like the hardware development, hardware management, like all that hardware manufacturing vertical. So a lot of adjacencies that you can look at, like people ask about inventory management. That's itself like a massive undertaking. But there's certain aspects of it, like as we were talking about, because our customers are small and medium-sized businesses, they're not ready to adopt like a full-on SAP or Oracle or some kind of solution like that. They'll just say, I need a counter that tells me where each component is and what warehouse it's in. And when I make a sale, it goes down. And when I buy something, it goes up. Can you help me with that? Right. And so there's certain things that, because we have the BOM in all different parts of in a company, all parts for all the hardware that they're making, that can link in a way to inventory. And there's also things that you can manage because we have a traceability and a history of all changes that I make. We trace basically the BOM, like a components of the BOMs and changes to the BOM. But you can also trace like process changes and like a step, like somebody did a training, or this hardware was evaluated to meet this type of like certification. So then you're starting to go into like quality management systems and those kind of capabilities. So I think there's several adjacencies. And so in the short term, probably for a good, I'd say short term next year or so, definitely focused on how do we make BOM management the most effective. But where there's adjacencies that make sense for us, and when we feel comfortable, we'll definitely look at like what other aspects of the full like hardware development vertical make sense to us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very cool. Do you have any advice that you can share for aspiring founders? You've obviously got this entrepreneurial journey that you're on right now. Still early stage, but you guys are off to such a great start and really cool product. Is there anything that you wish that you'd known early on before starting a tech company?
I think be prepared for lows and highs, and then don't get too high on the highs. Don't sniff your own whatevers, and don't get too low on the lows, right? Because every accomplishment, like, it's funny, like you should make sure to be proud of your accomplishments, like every sale, every new customer, every positive email, every like snippet of whatever that's valuable. Be proud of that, but also don't get too down if like you lose a deal or something, like, something happens that you're unhappy about, or you lose like, an employee or something like that. Like, it's tough. Especially when you're just starting, you're at your most vulnerable. You can get squashed within a second, and so you should just be prepared for the highs and the lows. And I think I think half of the journey is a mental journey of like, how do you how do you keep yourself going even when it seems like it's going to be harder? So, and all I know is that the challenges keep getting bigger and bigger in scope. But even when you're tiny, you're vulnerable, and so you just want to make sure like find people who understand that, and then find the right folks to work with, and then have that long-term vision. It's like, okay, I'm not ready to adopt your system today, but maybe in 6 months. Great. It's not like that's not a no. That means follow up every month or so until the 6 months are there, right? When they're ready, then they're ready, right? So that's something to keep in mind.
That's awesome. Is there something that you've been surprised to learn since starting Bomello? With entrepreneur?
I was surprised at when what we were able to build in a relatively short amount of time, and that people bought it. And I think we had some great advisors for our company. I sent some, frankly, like provocative emails saying like, are you frustrated with the state of like, BOM management today? And we had a good amount of people reply to it. So they helped us really craft and design the product that we have today. And when we released our product, which was like last summer, we knew that there was more that we wanted to do. But when Rob and I were making that decision, we said, well, there's people who will pay for it right now. How about we get this in their hands, get them to take advantage of it? And even if it doesn't solve 100% of their problem, let's figure out what their 100% is, not what we think their 100% is. And so I think the willingness to adopt of anybody of a solution that was built relatively quickly, I think, I'll give a lot of credit to Rob there of how we designed it, how we deployed it, in our team, his engineering team. But like a lot of credit there goes to the team of like, we were able to develop something of value quickly. And I think now we have it in people's hands, and they're just giving us feedback about what's working, what's not working, what else we could do to make the product better. And obviously, as we make it better for them, it's just a better product for the market as a whole. So I think that was a surprise to me of like, I think there's that, it goes around on Twitter and stuff like, or whatever it's called now. It's like, you can just do things. It's overused, but I think it's like, yeah, you can, build software, and then, people will buy it if it's good. And so I think, and if it provides them value. So I think that was, it was very exciting when we got the first people to sign up. And so, now we have more, and the goal is to get more and more people using it, more and more people taking advantage of it. But, getting through that first hump there of people using it and enjoying it was big.
Yeah. Getting the first people, that's always like the first hurdle, and making sure they want to stick with it afterwards and give you feedback and it's useful. Yeah, that's definitely an important thing. A hot topic at the moment with the current administration is tariffs. How do you think that they're going to impact customers and their needs or interests in your product?
I think it's one of the most critical things to have a solution like this in place when there's a evolving supply chain, right? So that, when in 2021, when some whole supply chain issues really came to a head, and I think there was partly because of tariffs, partly because of COVID, partly because of, changing, because of demand changes because of COVID. I think there was, and like utilization, of whiplash effects and things like that. I think the tariffs were a factor in that, right? And so when people started to have to manage their own supply chain more effectively and couldn't just give their BOM to a CM and say, okay, just build it, they actually had to manage all their suppliers and make sure that they were able to build and manage, the cost, and make sure that they can organize all their suppliers in one place. That's what our system does. It allows them to put all their suppliers in our system and manage them and make sure what the costs are and how those change. I think tariffs, reinforce that the supply chain world is ever changing, right? There's not one, you can't just always buy the same thing from the same person in perpetuity at the same price. And so I think tariffs reinforce that, yeah, this world is changing constantly. And so you need a system to be able to manage that change, because otherwise you're going to have something that might have like a $50 BOM cost that goes up to an $80 BOM cost. And, oh, are you charging too much? Are you charging too little? If the lead times change, you need to be able to manage all that in a solution. That's what we bring to the market.
Nice. How do you think that AI or automation will impact BOM management and PLM in general?
Yeah, it's exciting because I think we were talking a little bit about the robotics world, about how AI and robotics have a very natural like fit with each other. So obviously there's going to be more and more demand out of hardware to be built, more hardware as hardware can do more, there's gonna be more demand to build hardware. So I think that's exciting for a demand driver for our product for more hardware companies. I think there's two ways to think about it from a product development perspective. And I think AI, like anything, is now a tool that can supercharge people and their capabilities, right? So like you could say when a spreadsheet was first invented, if you're doing some kind of, numerical analysis and you weren't able to use spreadsheets, you're not going to be as effective as someone who could use a spreadsheet. And AI is a different level of that, right? It's allowing people to, it can help you code, it can help you do analysis, it can help you formulate communications. There's a ton of things that it can do. And so when we think of it as an input into Bomello, well, I think a direct thing that we've been able to do is you leverage LLMs and those kind of coding, those LLM-driven coding tools to help us build integrations much quicker with different systems. Because basically you can just sit there and say, well, here's the entire API of this CAD tool. I want to get this information out of it. What do I, help me write this API call? And so it'll, it's amazing what it can do from an input perspective. I use it a lot, LLMs a lot for sales and marketing purposes. So as an input into what Bomello provides, I think AI is very valuable. And as outputs, when we think about the product, we want to develop the product that people want. And so, I think a lot of people will say, oh, we're an AI driven blah, 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 an AI driven blah, blah, blah. And so there's certain AI certain workflows that we can use to leverage AI. I think, data input, we can probably leverage AI in certain ways to basically define like, okay, you're inputting this from a SolidWorks or a Creo or from an Onshape. This header looks a lot like these 5 different other headers in our system. Most likely you're trying to do this, right? So there's ways that we might be able to shortcut the workflow in certain ways. And there's some kinds like you could potentially do BOM analysis, things like that. I do have some hesitation of the current state of AI, where the amount of hallucinations, we've tested certain capabilities in Bomello with basically leveraging LLMs and trying to get it to do certain analysis. And the hallucinations are a problem. I think they will get better and better over time. And so we're just keeping our eye on like, are there workflows that we can enable our users to take advantage of with AI? And for now, it's really, we are making a better product with AI. We're not providing AI workflows for our users. But we're keeping an eye on it and figuring out what it makes sense. And it's a tool. And if we can, our customers can manage their BOM more effectively, have a more, use the tool, get data more quickly with AI, we'll add it in there. But at this point, we're very much in evaluation stage, but it's definitely a core part of our Bomello. Wouldn't exist in the way it does today if it wasn't for the AI technology that we have today.
It's kind of a breath of fresh air hearing someone talk about it like that, because so many people are so quick to just say, yeah, we're an AI tool or we're AI powered.
Yeah.
But it's not really, it's such an overused buzzword right now. And yeah,
it's a tool, right? And it's a great tool, but you just have to know its limitations too. I think I saw it was Alphabet had some release where they said like it was a high percentage, I don't remember what it was, of all code was submitted with the help of AI. But now you're getting a little bit like loose with your terms. Like, okay, did it just complete an if statement bracket, right? Like, did you just open up a bracket and AI just put like you auto completed for them? Did it basically call an API for them, or like what exactly are they using, claiming like was AI generated? So I do think like, it's something, it's a tool, and the tool is going to keep getting better. There's a lot of folks heavily focused on it. It's going to get better. It's going to get cheaper. And I think it's a great place and it's a great tool, but you can't it's not like the silver bullet for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said.
An AI Greg would be very boring to talk to. I don't want to talk to an AI Greg. I want to talk to a real Greg.
So I should hold off. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, don't clone yourself. I don't want an AI Greg. I want the real Greg.
Okay, deal. Just for you, I'll hold off on it. Well, look, Sam, I really enjoyed this. Thank you again for being on the show, sharing all your
Likewise.
insights, helping myself as well as I'm sure some other listeners learn about BOM, PLM, and Bomello in general. I really appreciate it. And this was long overdue, so I'm glad we finally got it.
Yeah, I'm really glad we were able to do this. And yeah, you're a busy guy. I've got a lot on my plate too, so it's I'm glad we're able to squeeze out some time to do this, and hopefully the listeners enjoy it. And it's really great chatting with you.
I appreciate that. Where can everyone find you and Bomello, sign up, or just follow along for product updates?
So Bomello, BOMELLO.com. That's our website. Thanks for giving the plug in the middle of the conversation that we had. I'm on LinkedIn. My email is sam@bomello, BOMELLO.com. So someone can email me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X. I'm on whatever. I think I still have a Facebook account. you search my name. I'm very accessible. So if you need to get a hold of me, I'm available. And yeah, the website's a great way to learn about the tool and what we built.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Listeners, if you can share this with anyone that you think will get value, that will be great. Don't forget to subscribe, leave feedback, let us know what you thought. And Sam, I look forward to seeing you soon and keeping in touch.
Absolutely.
All right.
Definitely, Greg. It was great chatting. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.